Hi, I'm Jason Ramasamy, and this is the second video, which is about this book which has just come out called Joseph and the Triumph of Grace, which I illustrated but is produced by the Scottish Bible Society and was graphic designed by Peter Barnsley, and it's a really beautiful book. It's got lovely paper, lovely features in it, and it's the fruit of many years of thought and reflection by the team, and it's a real coming together, and it's just such a lovely book. So the first video talks a bit about the book and it flicks through the whole thing, and hopefully you've enjoyed looking at that. This second video, I just want to quickly go through some of the process that was involved in making it, and maybe even getting into a little bit of the nerd tech sort of elements of how this book came together. So here's the book. I'll just do this as an overhead shot. Here's the book here, and you can see all the bits, and if you look at the previous thing, you'll see how that came together. Now, before any of that happened, here is how I would have started off. I initially printed a blank booklet which had the entire text of Genesis in it. So what I did is I basically created an A4 booklet, printed every page of Genesis, and there's each of the chapters. So here's chapter 4, chapter 6. Now, if you notice that the story of Joseph only begins in chapter 37, so a lot of this is blank. I did initially think of doing the entire story of Genesis, but in the end I thought, actually no, the Joseph one, and with the Scottish Bible Society, actually it was the best thing forwards. So here is chapter 37, and here are some of my initial kind of ideas, so you can hopefully see that. So, you know, this sort of, what I did is I would read the text and then scribble out various bits and bobs, and some of these images actually do make their way into the final book. So there's a scene here where Jacob has crushed by Joseph basically being taken away from him, and it says, "I'll meet you in the grave," and that image does crop up later. And these are just me thinking, you know, how would I break down each of the scenes? And I was just responding to reading the text. So there's a bit with Potiphar and his wife, and he legs it. There's a bit where there's a pair of scissors there cutting the baker's head off. That's the Pharaoh. I thought this idea of I was playfully thinking about a sort of a pyramid shape floating above the Pharaoh's head, but in the end I ended up with a triangle shape, and then I thought of a coat, one of those wire coat hangers, and just enjoyed being a bit silly with some of the design work here. And so this is what I did originally, and I just wanted to get through and see if I could create something that had a real kind of flow to it. So that's that part. The thing that followed on from that was this. So I ended up putting together a little booklet which I tried to summarise. So here's what I did, is I tried to summarise lots of the key sections, 37 right through to 50, and I tried to get a sense of the flow of it. And then I made a list of all the different characters, so I've got a whole character sheet that I can show you in a few moments. And here are each of the sections. Now what I've done here is this is me trying to bring it together a bit more. And I tried to number these. So this is a real kind of mess. It's a real brainstorming mess you've got here. But I tried to think, so this is the 2 years of hope eroding for Joseph. But this is me. And eventually you can see how this fitted into the pages. And then I thought here of the panels of a thing unfolding for the 14 years, 7 years of blessing, 7 years of famine. And I needed a bit of extra paper here, so I stuck that in. There's long sort of sheets, and of course I ran out of space, so I was just sticking extra bits of paper in as well. I love this little booklet because this has lots of the early ideas. I actually haven't looked at this for quite a long time. And there's bits here with Joseph as a tree with these shards hitting him. That does actually occur in the end book. The Machpelah thing, there's a bit of paper, I don't know what that is. Oh, here is Joseph, their fearful vision of Joseph sending them down the pit. And then a sort of context thing which sort of shows the overview of the Bible, which actually does occur. So that's the end of the book, and I think I've got a thing for the front of it as well. Yes, here we go, here's the front part. So this is the front flaps, and this is the idea of how I would have done that. So when I did that, I then went on a retreat to a place called Ashburnham Place. Is that what it's called? Ashburnham? I can't even remember what the place is called. It was really good. And I sat in a room for several days and just basically made these. So I made tons of these I just basically broke every page. I designed every page. So I went through, let's just stick that there. So that's the big overview. I went through literally every page. That was a really intense few days. I started to become very sad about my life during those few days. It was very bad mobile phone reception. And there you go, there's lots of these. This is the entire book initially laid out. By this stage I knew I had a pretty clear idea of how the book would be, and a lot of these images do look like the end design. Look, I started to run out of stuff, so I was like, yeah, Ashburnham Place. I actually went downstairs and asked them for a map. I basically, with the idea that I just wanted to use it to do layout because I couldn't find any paper. Sorry Ashburnham, but it came to a good end, trust me. And so once I'd done that, let me just show you this. Let's bring over the iPad now. Once I did that, now if I just screen record this so you can sort of see this. So on this iPad, here we go. This iPad thing is quite interesting to have a look at. This is the room that I was in. Here's me looking at this. Is the most self-conscious sort of selfie shot you've ever seen. I'm sorry, it's a bit vain, but this is the room I was in. I basically put my bike in there and I kind of locked myself in. Sort of slightly sad and slightly weird that I was in there. But I laid out these sheets, these whiteboard sheets on the wall, and I laid the whole thing out. So I put in some pretty long hours in there, but by the time I left I had a real sense of the whole book. It was really cool. Then I got in touch with the Scottish Bible Society. I mean, I've been basically working with them on these ideas all the way through, and this is when we got into the actual making of it. So here is phase 2. We're up to about phase 4 by the time the final piece was done. This is quite close to the final bit. There are 1 or 2 edits here which are slightly different, but this is me working in Clip Studio Paint, which is a superb bit of software, and it's basically the main thing I would use for designing artwork. So I'll just pull that across there. Let me just show you this. Let's take the scene where there's the big reunion. So look at this. So let's just get that across here like that. So look at this. So basically what you have here is, I mean, this is the most beautiful bit of software because it's just so brilliant. I only use about 3 brushes on it. One of them is this one, so I'll just draw some bits on here. So let's just add a little thing here. Look. There we go. I'll just draw a little thing there, like that. And then I had another layer where I would basically draw in shading, and I was going for this sort of dot. This is why Clip Studio Paint is so brilliant. You can actually put these things in. And I had another layer where I would basically paint in orange. Whoops. Now I think I actually used a colour orange here. Yeah, it's this one here. So basically I would put in orange. Actually I'd make that a little bit larger. There we go. And that's basically how I would draw it. So the whole thing had, so I'll just turn these off. Let's put this on. Yeah, here's my scribbles. So I think I took those drawings that you just saw, then I did a pencil drawing. So if I just put the opacity of this up, so I would then do a kind of a pencil drawing over the top where I made a few tweaks, and then having done that, I then inked it in. Now obviously that one, the initial one there that you see, there you've got Pharaoh initially was going to be in this shot. Actually in the end I felt it was better to not have Pharaoh in the shot but just to have the family. I felt that the space worked better that way. But there you go. So that's, don't save. That's basically each of the pages, and Clip Studio Paint is just absolutely brilliant. Yeah, so there you go. I think that's probably it.